What's up, fans of women's sports everywhere, and welcome back to Ms. Main Events, where we talk about the women changing the game and what it takes to keep the game worth watching. If you've been following the headlines lately, you've probably noticed a theme: cheating, betting, indictments. No, 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 no. Not in women's sports, y'all. On the men's side of things. See, two Major League Baseball pitchers were just charged with fixing pitches for gamblers. And recently, NBA figures like Terry Rozier and Chauncey Billups were arrested in federal gambling investigations. Now, it's easy to shrug all this stuff off and say, hey, sounds like a man problem to me. But that would be a big mistake. Because when trust breaks down in one part of sports, it ain't gonna just stay in its lane. It's gonna spill over into other parts of sports. It may spill over in the women's leagues, from track and field to the WNBA to pro volleyball. All of them, all women's leagues can either learn from this moment or risk repeating it. So when we think about what's happening in men's sports, we can just start with the basics. The Justice Department says two pitchers from the Cleveland Guardians, that's Emmanuel Clays and Luis Ortiz, they say that they accepted bribes to throw specific pitches so gamblers could win on what are called prop bets. Now, if you're new to sports betting, a prop bet is short for proposition, and it's not about the wins or the losses. And at the end of the day, it's not about the point spread. In baseball, it might be, will the first pitch be a strike or a ball? In basketball, it could show up as a player getting a certain number of rebounds or assists. It's about the little tiny moments inside the game. These little moments all sound harmless, but when the stakes get high and the data is everywhere, those little bets become easy targets for manipulation, and it can become worth a whole lot of money. Now, layer this on with what's going on in the NBA with Terry Rozier and Chauncey Billups. Chauncey Billups being one of the most respected names in the NBA annals. Those two people are wrapped up in federal gambling probes. Nobody is saying that they're guilty right now. These are allegations, but the accusation is very, very heavy. The details of what they've been accused of equal up to the same problem. Sports betting has become so accessible, so woven into the culture, that the old systems of oversight can't seem to catch up. Betting ain't just a Vegas thing anymore. It's in your pocket. It's on your phone. It's on ads during games. Literally, watch a basketball game. Watch a football game. You will definitely see an ad for some type of gambling before that broadcast is over. Gambling is integrated into the broadcast, and that makes it harder to keep the competition pure. The temptation is being dangled right in our faces day in and day out, and if we are tempted, those players are human. They get tempted too. So, what does any of that have to do with women's sports? In short, everything. Because when fans lose trust in sports, it don't stop with the league that messed up. It shakes people's confidence across the board. In women's sports, which are still building our commercial base and fan loyalty, we can't afford that. If a scandal like this ever, and I mean ever, hit a women's league, y'all, it would be curtains. The reaction would be swift and it would be brutal. The headlines wouldn't just say, so-and-so cheated. They would say something like, see, women's sports aren't ready for prime time. They're not ready for the bright lights. That's why integrity can't be a back office issue. It has to be upfront and visible. It has to be a public commitment. When men's leagues get messy, women's sports have to stay clean. Not by luck, but by design. That's the line I keep coming back to because the timing is everything. Women's sports are growing really, really fast. Audiences are expanding. Sponsorships are finally flowing. We are getting broadcast deals up the wazoo. And right now, is when we need to build the foundation that keeps the trust intact. Now, let's look at where things stand across different sports and how they're handling the integrity issue. Sports like track and field has a head start. World Athletics already bans athletes from betting on track events. The Athletes Integrity Unit investigates violations and publishes the results. The consequences are serious and they are public. And as soon as new kinds of bets appear, like who leads during the first lap of a race or whether somebody false starts, these systems have been evolving along with that. Now, the WNBA falls under the NBA's betting rules. Players, coaches, staff, none of them can bet on NBA or WNBA games. And the league uses a data company called Sportradar to track any suspicious activity. But the issue with the WNBA and the NBA is visibility. There's no public WNBA specific integrity policy. And I think personally, there should be. We need to separate ourselves from the men's side of the sport and maybe include something like that in the collective bargaining agreement. Because fans should not have to assume that integrity is being taken seriously in the WNBA. We should be able to see it. We should be able to read it. Then there's volleyball. Athletes Unlimited is one of the more progressive leagues in the sport, especially when we're talking about integrity. And it also partners with Sportradar for monitoring and also for education. And they're leading in a very visible way. This is what leadership looks like. The newer Pro Volleyball Federation hasn't published its own policy yet, but it's growing so fast, it's going to have to. Now is the perfect time to make that policy public. The patterns are clear. The more transparent the league, the more confidence that is instilled in the fan base. Speaking of fan base, what can we do? What can we do about integrity? Well, we can start simple. We can demand accountability. We can ask questions. If you follow a league, whatever league, look for its integrity policy. Should be easy to find, right? If it ain't, we need to be asking questions. Does that integrity policy, once we find it, does it explain who can bet and who can't? Do players talk about the integrity policy? See, integrity ain't just about catching cheaters. It's about creating a culture where the game itself is sacred, where everyone in that sports ecosystem, from the athlete to the sponsor to the fan, agrees that the result on the scoreboard is going to be real and is going to be trusted. So if you're supporting women's sports, you're already investing in fairness and authenticity. We have it better than the men. Actually, the women will interact with their fan bases. We want to keep it a buck with our favorite athletes and with the sports that employ them. Asking for accountability is part of the same mission. Look, the betting boom has changed sports forever. The money is bigger, the access is easier, and the risk is higher. The men's leagues are learning. They learn it the hard way. But the women's leagues still have time to lead and still have time to get in front of this whole thing and say, we're going to build this stuff right from right now, from day one. Track and field has the framework. The WNBA can strengthen its policies. And volleyball can begin by making integrity part of its brand story. Every highlight we celebrate, every record that blows us away, all that only matters if we can trust what it is we're seeing. Now, thank you for listening to this episode of Ms. Main Event. The full article that inspired this episode is up now on my Substack. You can look in the show notes for how to find all of those wonderful things. And if you believe in women's sports and want to see them grow the right way, share this episode with another fan who also feels the same. Until next time, I'm Tasha for Miss Main Event, and I remind you that excellence and honesty belong on the same team. See you next time. Peace.